Route 616, your home for all things Marvel main continuity. A hot start here. You just catch us laughing at the beginning. Some good jokes just went down. So this is episode 30 of Route 616. Yeah, the big 3-0. That's kind of crazy.
And to celebrate, we have actually good comics.
No,
all the way down.
No, don't lie to people. We're still doing the Marvel titles. Okay?
Will we do a DC order someday? Who knows?
The DC order is harder to find a place to jump in on.
It is. That's why we haven't
with
done
DC,
it.
I think it would be wiser to pick just 3 titles and not go over the whole thing.
Yeah, because the Golden Age is massive. There's like 1,000 comics a year in the Golden Age.
Right. If you were to just, and that's the thing, because if you were to say, well, let's just do Superman, oh my God, the crossovers and the additional titles and the super family and just on and on and on. That alone
Same thing with
would
Batman.
it's just an overwhelming prospect.
I mean, 80% of the stuff they're publishing right now is Batman adjacent, it seems.
Yeah. And, we can...
There's like 2 Superman titles, a Wonder Woman title, and the whole Bat family.
Yeah. And we can credit Ben Affleck for that, obviously.
There should be less titles if that's the case. But anyway, I was going to say...
Ben Affleck was a good Batman.
He was, but he didn't do anything.
Ben Affleck was a very good
He was,
Batman.
but he wasn't a successful Batman. That's the difference.
You know what? Christian Bale.
This isn't the fucking
no, shut up! I'm talking. I'm talking here. I'm talking
so
here.
the cough's gone now that he has to defend his opinion.
The cough will be back. Trust me, I can feel it building. Christian Bale had the benefit of an incredibly good production and script. Right? Ben Affleck was working with cardboard.
I know.
Right? He was
Bale,
working with a crap script.
I know, it was a Zack Snyder movie.
And
Christian Bale also had the benefit of coming in at a time when superhero movies weren't really good and being in a good movie.
Right, because, did you ever hear Ben Affleck go, I'm Batman?
That was very controversial.
Come on. Right, and all this bullshit. Right? Affleck just did. He just went in. He just went in and he was Batman. It was just bang. Right? Bale was doing the whole... never mind.
I didn't even get to introduce you guys, but...
Okay, hi, I'm
If
Dan.
they haven't figured it out by 30 episodes
that's fair.
their problem.
Yeah. The other guy is not Dan. Okay.
Yeah, we've got Bill.
Yes,
Ryan,
I am not Dan,
and not
that's Dan. And then there's Ryan in the middle.
Yeah, make sure to stay away from Dan. He's sickly.
I am sickly. I hope none of you catch an internet virus from me,
You're so lame. No.
What?
Anyways, we'll push this now so we don't forget. If you haven't watched our latest bonus episode, it was on a lot of things, really, wasn't it? It's a little.
He was allegedly on Sharks, but we didn't really stay on target.
No, we didn't stay on topic at all.
Allegedly, we covered Ice Shark somewhere, but
somewhere in there, and Christmas movies,
and Christmas movies, and we just kind of it was chaotic. We teased.
There was a lot of yelling.
We teased the video game episode that we're probably going to do now. It was a whole thing, so...
Yeah.
I don't think Moira will let us get away with only one video game episode.
No.
It'll be broken down.
The way she popped about the potential for video game episodes, we're not doing just one.
We'll just start off with, riffing on what some of our favorites are, and then we'll probably do specific ones more as we go. But anyways, stay tuned.
Sometime we'll have to work up the courage to break it to her that we're not doing a Handsome Jack episode.
Oh, I don't want to be anywhere near this when that happens.
Stay tuned for next month's
I know,
episode.
Bill. We can let Ryan break it to her at work while we're safely in other towns.
You're an asshole.
If you cowards need someone to do it, I can do it. She doesn't know where I live.
Okay.
Yet.
That
She'll probably
is
figure it
true.
out after I say that.
Okay. Here's a little piece of curiosity that I didn't know and just found out the other day and thought it was really cool. Okay, just a little tiny trivia.
I'm so curious where this is going.
Okay, do you remember the movie Love and Monsters?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, remember Minnow, the little actress?
Yes.
That's hanging out with them? Okay, she's the voice of Tiny Tina in the Borderlands coming up.
Okay.
Wow.
Right, just figured I'd share. I think that's really cool.
Anyways, as I was saying...
She's not behind you somewhere, is she, Dan?
In who? Moira? No.
Yeah. Okay, good. No. Then I truly don't care.
Oh. I'm telling Moira you said that.
I'm going to send this clip. No?
Yeah, we're sending her this clip. Just that one little bit where you say you don't care.
Yeah. Anyway.
You need the Tiny Tina stuff in there for context.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Join us next week when it's just Ryan and I on this podcast.
I don't think she'd be angry if I truly didn't care about Giant Man, which I also don't care about.
But thankfully, we don't have any Giant Man in this episode. But anyways, as I was plugging,
we have 4 comics Giant Man appears in. Well, 3 actually.
That's a good point. We don't have solo Giant Man, I should say.
That's true. But it's less irritating.
Yeah, get it together,
in the
Ryan.
Avengers.
Come on.
Stay tuned for next month's episode, a bonus episode where we cover the Alien franchise, which was starting in November, but I messed that up. But anyway, so for today's comics, yes, we are actually going to talk about comics here. We're going to be covering only 5 today, but they're a good 5. And we are going to do Fantastic Four issue number 25 and Fantastic Four number 26, which is a 2-part story. And then Avengers number 5 and Avengers number 6, solo stories for both of those, but they go together well. And then we have ended on Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, issue number, 8? Yeah,
I think
8.
so.
It is. Perfect. So with that in mind, I suppose it would be smart if we get going, and we will start with Fantastic Four issue number 25.
Oh, yeah.
The Hulk versus the Thing is the title. And, of course, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's baby here, and we have inks by George Russo's. Covers done by Kirby as well. And the letters, are done by Sam Rosen. This is a January 1964 release, 22-page story. And we're going to pass this one off the bill.
All right, and they're kicking off the New Year's strong with this one. We open with Reed trying to roofie Ben.
Nice, let's go.
And Ben's having none of it. Because Reed's made a formula that will permanently turn Ben back human. But Ben doesn't want it because Alicia loves him as the Thing, and he's worried that if he turns back into human Ben, she won't love him anymore. So unless Reed can make something that will let him voluntarily turn between the two forms, he doesn't want anything to do with it. And Reed is not terribly happy about that decision. So he keeps trying to work on something to turn Ben. And we cut over to a highway in New Mexico where some truckers are stopped because there's a massive boulder in the road. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to move it when the Hulk shows up and smashes it out of the way and demands that they give him a ride in their truck. So he climbs in the back and throws all the shit out of the back of the truck. And they drive off because they're too scared to argue with him. And while he's in the truck, he falls asleep and turns back into Bob Banner.
I forgot that was this issue.
Yeah, that's why they came up with the name Robert Bruce Banner, because they were trying to cover for the fact that they've got his name.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Nope.
And so they, you just totally distracted me with that text, Ryan. So the truck runs into a roadblock with the police hunting for the Hulk. And they go to search the truck and just find a half-naked man in the back of it.
Which is totally not suspicious in any way.
Yeah. They figure he's just some vagrant that climbed in, and Banner runs off into the desert while they're thinking about this.
Nice.
And so he runs off into the desert and immediately turns back into the Hulk, making me wonder why they even bothered turning him into Banner. They could have just had a bit of the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut over to the pile of stuff that's been thrown out of the back of the truck, and the Avengers, including Giant Man, so it is 4 issues he shows up in.
Well, fuck us.
Yes, are investigating the trail of rubble and figure that it must have come from the Hulk. so they're not too far, and we cut back to what the Hulk's doing, and he's gone to his secret cave, and he's smashing up the gamma ray machine that was turning him to and from the Hulk for a bit. So this is the end of that, and the point where they've officially moved to the classic Hulk transformation method.
Okay.
And he tears up old Banner's notes and then heads to New York to go fight the Avengers because he thinks they're still trying to catch him. And at this point, we remember that we're actually in a Fantastic Four magazine. So we cut back to see what's happening with the Fantastic Four. And Reed decided it was a good idea to experiment with deadly viruses to try to figure out a way to transform Ben.
And that's how
COVID-19 was great. And naturally, he got infected with, like, all of them. And so he's busy dying.
Cool.
And so they put him to bed and rush off to get the doctor to help him. And all of a sudden they find the Hulk smashing up the city. So Johnny flames on and goes to fight the Hulk while the rest of them go to get the doctor. And Johnny fights the Hulk for a little while, but it doesn't go well. By a little while, I mean one page that's pretty much exclusively the Hulk kicking his ass. And so the Hulk knocks him out. And the police and all the press are standing around wondering who's going to stop the Hulk's rampage since the rest of the Fantastic Four just kept going. And Ben answers the call to come help them, but he's like, we can't go, Reed's sick. And Reed tells Sue and Ben to go deal with it. And so they get a ride in a police car to go deal with the problem. And they arrive finding Johnny still trying to fight the Hulk. And Hulk's getting ready to just like launch him into space or something. But Sue wraps him up in an invisible force field so that the Hulk can't kill him. So the Hulk just leaps into space with him in the force field. And the strain of trying to keep him in the force field as it gets further and further away causes Sue to pass out. And so Sue's out of the fight and Johnny's out of the fight. So it's just Thing versus Hulk. And they start fighting.
Which is what we're here to see, if we're honest.
Yes, pretty much. And now I'm just stalling as I scroll through pages of them fighting, looking for the next thing that's important to a recap to happen. At one point, Thing manages to electrocute the Hulk with a whole shitload of wires he pulled out of the sewers. But it only slowed him down for a little bit. And Reed crawls out of bed and figures he's going to go help because obviously he's the only one that can save things. And immediately passes out because he's still deathly ill. And the Hulk's starting to get the upper hand on the Thing. But then we see the Yancey Street gang shove a pickup truck backwards down the street. And the Hulk falls into the bed of the truck. But unfortunately, so does the Thing. And they keep fighting. And the truck goes off the pier and into the river. And they keep fighting underwater. Eventually they climb out. Fight their way over onto, did they say what bridge that is? No, I don't think so. It's just a random bridge. I mean, Manhattan's an island. There's going to be a lot of them. And, they keep fighting. Sue comes back to the Baxter River building and, finds Reed desperately trying to help Ben despite being deathly ill. And Sue puts him back to bed and reveals that she's brought the doctor that hasn't been around, shown in any panels, but all of a sudden is in the Baxter building.
Where the hell is Johnny?
Johnny's in the hospital, but that hasn't been revealed yet.
Oh, good. I mean, darn.
Yeah, the doctor says that he needs bed rest for a while so that his body can fight off these unknown microbes that he's managed to get himself full of. And so he gives him a sedative, and then he buggers off because lots of people are going to need medical help with the Hulk rampaging. And Sue turns on the TV to see what's happening, and they're filming the Hulk still fighting the Thing on top of the bridge. They fight some more. The Hulk beats the fuck out of Ben, and the army has shown up and is getting ready to launch a nuke if the Hulk breaks free of the area they've evacuated for the fight. And everyone's like wondering what's going to happen, and Ben's getting severely beaten down, but he decides that the only way the Hulk will stop him is by killing him, and that's where this story ends. It's like 60% a Hulk thing fight, and it is glorious for it.
It's actually a really, really good
this
issue.
This is a fantastic issue. It's just a tough one to recap because it's mostly a battle.
Fantastic Four issue.
That too.
Yeah.
This is definitely the best Fantastic Four we've read to this point.
That's pretty fair. I know you rated this one higher than I did, but I gave it a 4, which is what it averages out as on the site, which is still good for Fantastic Four. But
yeah, I gave it the full 5 stars. I really enjoyed it.
Must have took place in the Tokyo Dome.
It was a battle that had to happen.
It really did.
Right.
They come back to it, but this is the definitive one for me.
They come back to it a lot every so often. Well, it's not like it happens all the time, but it's been decades they've had to come back to it, so they could come back to it to still a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, periodically you're going to get new audiences that want to see that fight. Because they are the two most similar characters probably in that class in Marvel.
It took place in Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run early on when I was reading it before I dropped that title, and it was he did it really good there too. It's a fun take.
It's something that's almost always good because it's exactly what people read superhero comics for.
Well, this one was a fun take too because it was the immortal version of Hulk that's a little more evil at times, so it's it added up some layers to it.
That's a run I'm looking forward to reading.
You should be. I'd be shocked if you don't love it. I genuinely.
There's been very little Hulk stuff that I haven't liked.
Oh, you haven't read... you haven't gotten to the late 2000s or early 2010s or whatever you have done.
I must have just picked up right after it was bad then, because I started reading Hulk in like 2012 and it was good then.
Possibly.
2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
Or you were right before it got bad for a while. That could be the case too.
Yeah, that could
I think
be
it was
the case.
probably after because I read up until they killed him.
Fair. Well, yeah, pretty good, solid issue. What do you think, Dan? Mr. Surkoff's a lot.
Like I said, I think it was a fight that needed to happen, and I'm glad they did it. Right, it give us a different storyline than the, atypical alien bad guy or crap like that. Like it was a bit of a departure from sort of that usual pedantic, stories that we've been getting hit with. Right, where the ending is always some incredible anticlimax as the superhero beats the villain.
I mean, it's certainly no Impossible Man, but it's definitely a great story.
Oh, those
are fighting words.
Yeah. Oh my!
I said that just to piss Bill off.
Yeah, and it worked.
You see, your bad taste doesn't anger me. It just disappoints me.
Disappoints? Yeah, okay.
Your lack of taste disappoints me.
Anyways, let's move on to Fantastic Four number 26, which is titled The Avengers Take Over. Because this issue gets starring the Avengers. So, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course, again. We have George Russo's on inks, Jack Kirby on cover again, and this one's lettered by Artie Simek. February 1964 release, 23 pages of story, one whole extra page in there, and this one will yet again be covered by Bill. And
a Donkey Kong cover.
Yeah, the cover's really bad.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It is.
They wanted to get everyone on there, but oh my god, is it shit. Yeah. Anyway, we open with a recap of the previous issue. And then it just gets back into more Thing and Hulk fighting. And somehow Reed's shaken off that sedative that he was given literally 5 minutes ago. And is trying to go help Ben. But the orderlies have shown up with the white coats, and they're going to load him onto a stretcher and take him to the hospital.
I've got one more run in me, brother.
but he's determined to Randy to ram himself, so he starts trying to fight with them, but passes out because he's so weak, and they load him onto the stretcher and take him off to the hospital. And they take all the... they're now chemicals when before they were viruses he was working with, and go to inspect them in the lab, I guess, to try to find some sort of counter. And now we get the formal answer to Dan's question of whatever happened to Johnny, because we see a bunch of patients wondering why there's one patient screened off by asbestos curtains. And it's, of course, Johnny passed out after fighting the Hulk, and they put up the asbestos curtains in case he flames on when he wakes up, which he immediately does. But, like, they've wrapped him in asbestos bandages and stuff, so he can't burn the bandages. But he flies off to go fight the Hulk again. Yeah, there's a reason this one's not as high rated as the last one.
It's not off by much. It's only by points.
It's bringing tears
well,
to
it's
my
a whole
eyes.
star
That's
for me. But yeah, I'm not giving this one a 5. But yeah, he flies off, but he can't make it all the way in one run. He needs to stop and take a break for one panel because I guess they didn't count the panels properly. And then he's flamed back on. And he shows up at the battle, and he starts trying to fight with the Hulk.
Let me at him. Johnny Reed, Johnny Flamey Boy, really is the scrappy dude with this title, isn't he?
He's trying to make his Terry Funk comeback, but he isn't successful.
Yeah, and anyway, both him and Thing fight with Hulk for a while, and then the army gets involved and launches an atomic shell at him, which he just takes and flings into space, where it blows up, utterly harmless, despite the fact that it's dousing one of the most populous cities on Earth with fallout. But I guess we didn't think about that in 1964. And Johnny passes out because he used up all his energy fighting with the Hulk for like a page. And so Thing goes to fight with the Hulk by himself. And he is walking off to find him. Well, some press guys are trying to get an interview from him because we got to use that page. And we cut down to the subway where the Thing's standing in front of a train, and he makes it stop and demands that everyone gets off, and then drives off in the train himself and drives the train through the subways over to where Tony Stark's mansion that the Fantastic Four uses as headquarters is, which makes me think that Stan and Jack don't ride the subway and don't really know how trains work.
There's a surprise.
Unless he just
Stan
happened...
doesn't know how.
Unless Hulk just happened
Stan
to...
called him Bob Banner instead of Bruce Banner. Okay, come on. You know, Stan is not exactly an authority on his own work.
No. And so the Hulk breaks into Avengers Mansion and finds all the Avengers in there. And he gets into a big fight with them. And he kidnaps Rick Jones because he wants to kill Rick for betraying him by starting to hang out with Captain America.
Bill gets excited.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, this is where Rick started to get on my nerves.
Start.
More so in the two Avengers stories that follow. Up until this point, he was a mostly harmless inset for the young audience, but this is where they started involving him too much in the stories. But anyway, while Hulk's kidnapping Rick Jones, Wasp follows in her miniature form to see where he's going. And we cut back over to the hospital, and the doctors have found an antidote and given it to Reed, so he's not going to die and will be up around before you know it. And literally on the next panel, he's getting up and going to fight the Hulk. And so him and Sue go to where the Thing and Johnny are, and the whole Fantastic Four is together, and everyone's ready to go fight the Hulk. And they start following the trail of destruction for the Hulk, and they find where he's taken Rick Jones, and he's getting ready to, like, just squash Rick Jones or throw him off a building or something. And all of a sudden he collapses holding his head because the Wasp has gone into his ear and is buzzing around in there, throwing his equilibrium off. And so he starts trying to knock her out of his ear. And he succeeds, but that has distracted him enough for Captain America to show up. Captain America fights with him a bit. And at this point, the Avengers start trying to fight the Hulk. And the Fantastic Four start trying to fight the Hulk. And they end up just completely getting in each other's way. And so they're all fighting, and the Hulk just leaps away. And everyone argues, and then they agree that they're going to just have to work together to take out the Hulk. So Tony listens into the police radio to hear where the Hulk's been sighted, and they find out he's over on a construction site, and he's taken Rick to these steel girders, like the shell of an apartment building, that he's going to fling Rick off of. And so everyone starts fighting with him, and they're still kind of getting in each other's way, but they're having a bit more luck fighting the Hulk this time. And it's pretty much a draw between the Avengers and the Hulk and the Fantastic Four. And they keep fighting for a couple pages. It's another pretty good fight, but not as good as the one-on-one between Hulk and Thing. And eventually the Hulk decides he's just had enough. Giant Man summons a whole army of ants, and they bite the shit out of the Hulk, and so he gets itchy and doesn't like it, so he leaves and dives into the river, where he turns back into Bruce. And
oh man,
everyone else agrees that they'll call on each other if they ever need help. And the Avengers start talking about how great the Fantastic Four is, and the Fantastic Four head off to the Baxter Building to lick their wounds, and we get teased that the next issue features Submariner and Doctor Strange and a million surprises, which seems to be overpromising, and that's the end of the issue.
As per usual, yeah.
Somehow the addition of more panels involving Giant Man has lowered this comic by an entire star, and that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it.
No, I'm good with that.
I still gave this one 4 stars, but you reading the synopsis made me question that. But I don't know.
It's
I still
a lot
really
more fun
enjoyed it.
to actually read than it is. I was pointing out some of the stupid stuff for comedy purposes, but
Yeah.
it's another pretty good story.
On the site we use, it averaged out at 3.97, so not far off of the last one. So.
I gave it a 4 as well. It wasn't a 5-star like the first part.
Yeah, that's fair enough, really.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 because I think they're finally starting to move into more interesting stories, storylines, and team-ups, and the universe is expanding for them as they do these get-togethers, these different super groups and such.
Yeah, this arc is like the first thing that feels like the Marvel Universe instead of a bunch of Marvel characters.
Yeah, it feels a little more comfortable. I think they were finally starting to get used to the fact that superheroes are existing on the planet and actually doing more than just fighting off commies or aliens.
Yeah, and the different books start flowing into each other because, they reference the events of the entire Avengers run up to this point with Hulk before it starts. I mean, that's the motivation for pretty much everything that happens in this issue.
Yeah.
And in the 2-part Avengers, well, it's not 2 parts in the sense this one is, but it's 2 back-to-back Avengers adventures flow directly off this one. Literally, the Avengers story will pick up with the Fantastic Four leaving.
Yeah.
Sure. So continuity.
Yeah, wasn't entirely horrible.
Fair enough.
High praise.
High praise from Dan.
I liked it better than a lot of what we've been covering.
Oh, that's absolutely.
Good. Well, I guess we'll move on now to Avengers issue number 5, which is called The Invasion of the... What did I just say? The Invasion? What the fuck does that mean? The Invasion of the Lava Man. And this one's by Stanley and Jack Kirby.
Gonna have to go buy my Bullet Club merch there.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have been nice and taken this one off, yeah. This one's it.
Yes, I was going to do this, people, but unfortunately I'm catching a cold and I keep coughing, so.
This one's inked by Paul Reinman. Dick Ayers helps on the cover. And Sam Rosen letters this one, March 1964 release. And so this is the farthest along we are, I believe, so far. And then 23-page story. And I'm going to take this one. And I'm actually going to use the wiki this time so I don't get too off task.
So are you doing the Marvel database or the wiki?
Yeah, the Marvel database.
Okay.
Yeah, the fandom wiki. So the synopsis, here we go. The Avengers, like we teased, they return to the mansion from the Battle of the Hulk, and then for the time being, they disband to, and while they disbanded, Captain America teaches Rex some acrobatic maneuvers. We go to days later.
That's not going to end up being a major frustrating plot point at any time.
Not at all. Not like 2 issues away or anything. Days later, though, a mysterious high-pitched sound destroys a computer in one of Tony Stark's Long Island factories.
Oh, yeah.
And Iron Man is informed. And meanwhile, Giant Man and the Wasp are conducting some experiments inside a large anthill. Yes, you heard that right. And they are also affected by the noise and escape before the anthill collapses. And in his medical office, Don Blake reads about the effects of the noise. And so Thor meets up with Captain America and Rick Jones, who are still training. I guess days later they're still training, so he's kind of taking them under his wing more a bit here. And,
but he's not just training Rick Jones. He's training the entire Teen Brigade.
Nice. And they witness another shockwave together. The 6 heroes then have come together and investigate the source of this new unknown threat. So meanwhile, in an army base,
and they take Rick with them to go deal with this.
Yes, they do.
I fucking hate Rick Jones.
That's how there's 6 of them. Meanwhile, in an army base on the west coast of the country, we see that a strange rock has broken the surface of the earth, and soldiers are investigating it. We see...
Okay.
Can somebody pick that up for a minute?
So since
I'll
Ryan
just have somebody else pick it up.
Since Ryan had to go quiet, we see Thunderbolt Ross yelling at the mountain that's come up out of the ground, telling it to leave, and trying to get his other soldiers to figure out what's going on. And just then, Betty shows up, once again on a secure military base. She actually has an armed escort, so they're smarter. And she's brought Bruce Banner, who she found out in the desert. And he's going to help them figure out what to do about this rock.
Is this Banner Bruce Banner or Bob Banner?
They got it right. It's Bruce.
Because there's rumors that it's the same person.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. That one was last seen in the East River, and this one's back in Arizona, New Mexico.
Good point.
Okay, I can pick it up again. So you're at Banner,
where Banner gets distracted and starts reminiscing about being the Hulk instead of solving the problem right in front of him.
His daydream is broken by General Ross, who demands that Banner investigate the giant rock, and Banner deduces that the rock is actually being pushed to the surface by something underneath. So beneath the ground, it turns out that Banner was correct. The Lava Men have created a machine that slowly pushes the living rock to the surface. Molto, one of the Lava Men, pleads with Basalo, the king of the Lava Men. Don't remember these names, they're not important. Molto wishes the Lava Men to stop raising the rock, as the humans are not evil and do not deserve this. Debatable, actually.
The only name that's important is Molto, because he's the original Lava Man that Thor fought in the other issue.
Yeah, that's true.
He is, like, a new kind of soap.
He is, however, struck down by Jinku, the Lava Man witch doctor, and accused of cowardice because of his defeat by Thor. So there's mention of that there.
This episode brought to you by Molto, the soap that'll burn your clothes.
At this point, the Lava Men are very heavily, like, African tribesmen coded.
Ooh, a little racism goes a long way.
Yeah, there's
in
a
Marvel
fair
Comics.
bit of racism that they're masking by coloring the.
It's not racist if they're the wrong color.
Yeah,
Wait.
they're pink. You can't
Yeah,
be
that's
racist, but they're very clearly coded on like what people believe like African tribes were like at this point.
Oh,
To
kind
the
of
point
like
that the witch doctor
Black
literally
Panther.
has like one of those big masks as part of his design, except it's also lava, so it's just part of his face.
yeah, kind of like the Black Panther movie, where there's this technologically advanced society running around with spears in loincloths.
Exactly. Except
Not
less
being an ass, but
well-intentioned.
really, yeah.
So back on the surface, the army is about to destroy the rock with missiles when the Avengers arrive. Iron Man tries to cut through the rock, only to discover it is actually alive. He blasts underneath the rock to see what is below it, and stumbles across some lava men. They
And it's
overwhelm
more
him.
rock.
They overwhelm him with sheer numbers and begin to overheat his armor. But at the last minute, Iron Man is saved by Thor and Captain America, and due to his immortality, Thor decides he is the only one that he can continue. As he approaches, the lava men melt the earth below him, changing it into lava. Thor casually walks through it, to the lava men's amazement. Thor finds Basalo and Jinku and demands they stop raising the rock. Dwayne's gonna grow up by himself. Basalo explains the origin of the rock.
That might be good if some of the stuff I've heard about Soul Man is true.
and that if anybody attempts to destroy it, it will explode with tremendous power. The only hope to push it to the surface before it is to push it to the surface before it explodes, so that it will only destroy the surface life and not the entire planet. Thor tries to think of a way to save both
I don't think
planet
that's going to work the way they intend.
and life on the surface.
Uh-huh.
The lava men attempt to invade the surface and come face to face with Captain America, but he fights them off bravely, but is stopped when the lava men bind him with cinders. Rick Jones rushes to his aid and begins to break Cap free, while Iron Man faces the lava men. Elsewhere,
At this point, I want to remind everyone that Captain America does not yet have superpowers, and somehow doesn't even get burned by this.
I was thinking about that. I think I had a note about that in my notes. I was
At
like,
this point, I'd like to remind everybody that nobody gives a shit.
there's a few issues that I have that note here of why it doesn't Captain America not have powers here. And then elsewhere, Giant Man and Wasp, yes, they're in this issue, remember, have been analyzing the living rock, and they find a patch that isn't pulsating. If the spot is struck with enough power, it should cause the rock to implode rather than explode. They rush to find Thor and find Iron Man. Captain America and Rick... That is a weird sentence. They rush to find Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and Rick Jones. A Giant Man lifts the Avengers helicopter and blows back all the lava men with spinning rotors. Rick Jones finally sets Cap free. Oh, thank God we had him here. And they travel on the ground to find Thor. Oh, that's nice. That's just an error.
Yeah, Iron Man blasts him free with the repulsors, which also should have killed him.
Yeah. Back on the surface. Fuck. Back on the surface, Bruce Banner is still carrying out his research when he turns into the Hulk. He hears the voices of his enemies, the Avengers, and proceeds towards them. The Avengers panic and try to lure Hulk away from the living rock. Thor attempts to join in the fight, but is ambushed by Jinku. He points his witch doctor's rod at Thor and miraculously changes him back into Don Blake, as well as causing the tunnel to collapse. He flees, thinking that Thor is bewitched and able to change his form, leaving Blake injured in the rubble. On the surface, the rest of the Avengers attempt to deal with the Hulk, Cap, Giant Man, and Wasp have a... Oh, that's never weird sentence. With the Hulk, Cap, Giant Man, and Wasp have a plan. Using their growth capsules... Giant Man and the Wasp taunt and tease the Hulk, luring him onto the living rock, and they take him to the correct spot and strike and coax him into striking it. So they tricked the Hulk into striking the spot that was able to make the living rock implode instead of explode, is what happened there. Underground, Don Blake uses the last of his strength to change back into Thor as the tunnel completely caves in around him. He breaks free and confronts Lava, who are now convincing them to stop the invasion because they're scared of him now, essentially. Outside, General Ross declares the threat to be over. Hurrah! And Betty rushes off to look for Bruce, finding them injured but alive. As the Avengers leave, they receive a condition-red distress call from the Teen Brigade.
Bum, bum, bum. Join us next week, people, when fans around the world say, who cares?
Wow, there's a lot of issue notes for this one. I'll run through some of them, but I just want to point out first that the Lava Men don't return until Marvel Team Up number 26 when Multiple comes back. And Kanan Basala doesn't come back all the way till Thor number 481, so that's cool. So they're not back, really, for a bit. Where's my tab here? Here we go. Apparently this issue contained the first letters page for Avengers, which is called All About the Avengers, so that's a cool note. They point out some continuity stuff with Iron Man, where they point out that the events of the last two Iron Man issues we've covered likely occur prior to Fantastic Four 25-26, which is why we read them that way. Yeah, they point out the continuity here. This picks up directly from the last two Fantastic Four. That is probably... Yeah, that's probably the best notes there. So
yeah,
well, no, there's another note you're ignoring. But we'll go on. Go on.
The continuity is a chaotic mess to cover the fact that basically every Avengers have at least one single title that occurs at some point during this arc or this story. And some of them involve actual changes to character, like Iron Man gets a new helmet.
Yeah.
But there's just no way to resolve those without splitting the issue.
Oh, here's one. Maybe this is the one Dan was thinking of or seeing. Although last being seen swept away by a river in New York in Fantastic Four 26, it is not explained how Bruce Banner manages to get back to New Mexico in such a short amount of time.
Well, I just did explain that. That was Bob Banner that got washed out to sea, and now it's Bruce Banner that's back in New Mexico. He never left.
Exactly.
The answer's right there in front of people, but everyone decided Stan Lee was an idiot and got the name wrong, and so now they were confused.
But in reality, there's two Banners. Bob and Bruce are twinlets. Right? I mean, it's so freaking obvious. Can't figure out why people can't figure this out.
Was that the note you were looking at, or is there another one?
No. Let's keep on going.
Okay. What was our star ratings for this one?
I gave it 3 stars. It was fine.
I'm giving it 2. Well, I
gave it 2? Really?
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I didn't like this one that much.
Definitely at least a 2 for me, because, again, they're starting to get away from the cookie-cutter plots, bad guys.
Oh, I know.
Like
they're starting to more Rick Jones.
Stories are becoming a little bit more involved and a little bit more diverse. Character motivations are starting to show up, right, that are actually interesting.
Definitely more diverse. We got pink people in this one.
Well, skipping over the rather rampant racism. And that was. I'm not blaming Marvel for that. That was
the time
in all the comic titles out there, no matter what the company.
Even even a lot of movies and books and stuff were that racist back then. So I'm not docking this issue for it.
No. We were just on the verge of blaxploitation as it was starting to hit the film industry, but. I mean, the story itself is a little bit more expansive, a little bit more interesting than the generic stories that we've been getting up to this point, right? It's not just cut and paste, right? So, yeah, I thought it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of hokey stuff in it, but that's a product of the time. Like the Living Rock and stuff, you couldn't print that story even in another 5 years. And get a 3-star rating. But for early 1964, that's just kind of what I expect from the comics. And they were definitely trying to integrate it into the larger universe. They're trying to tie the individual stories together. And that'll become more apparent when we hit the individual issues that fall into this one. Because I don't believe any of the issues that are covered. Oh no, we've already covered some of them. Like at some point during this issue, Giant Man and Wasp went to South America.
And find Bob Banner.
Yeah, but
he got swept away to South America.
Exactly, it became El Toro. There we go.
Okay. Bob Mysterio. He's now down south as a
I
professional
can't believe
wrestler.
you missed El Toro, Bill.
I was there for it. I was the one that covered it.
Dan wasn't here.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
It was so good.
It was comically... It was like if The Room became a comic book and then also flat out called CIA government overthrowing communist countries in South America.
Wow. The curse of shift work. I can't always be here for some of these episodes.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was beautiful.
But they start like even trying to tie in the individual issues. And so I respect the ambition even if they haven't gotten all the kinks worked out of it yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess we'll move on to the next issue, which is Avengers issue number 6. Titled The Mighty Avengers Meet the Masters of Evil. Of course, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby back at it. We've got Chick Stone ink in this one, though. Helps on the cover as well. And then lettered by Sam Rosen. This is a May 1964 release, because keep in mind, Avengers is still bi-monthly at this point. And it's a 23-page story.
Okay, now I'm going to take a crack at this. If I start coughing, why don't you take over? And I'm going straight from the Marvel database.
I've got the site up if you get real bad.
So
and I've got the comics, so I can fill anything in that's wrong from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so en route to respond to the Team Brigade's distress call, Captain America gives the other Avengers a demonstration of skill with his shield. Cap thanks Iron Man for upgrading his shield with transistors.
Yes! I forgot about this.
This lasts for one issue and is never mentioned again after this scene until we get a little note in the future that Captain America has thrown them away and gone back to the old way.
Yeah, making the shield even easier to use, just so you know, guys. He thinks of Bucky and begins to dwell on the past, so we zip right past all that crap and go prior to the Team Brigade's distress signal over the jungles of South America.
To look for Bob Banner.
Yeah, to look for Bob Banner. A pilot flies a plane along a perilous route to bring supplies to his master, Baron Zemo. Ooh, good name. Zemo examines the latest scientific journals looking for a formula to dissolve the mysterious adhesive X. Oh, I know where this is going. Which has permanently bonded his hood to his face. He angrily discovers in a newspaper that Captain America is alive and explains to the pilot that Captain America caused his hood to be glued to his face. The pilot leaves Zemo with instructions to find 3 people. In present-day New York, the Team Brigade are still waiting for the Avengers to arrive. Tom arrives and explains that the situation has escalated and that the Black Knight is flying over the city, spraying a mysterious chemical onto the streets below. After a brief time, the city is brought to a standstill, with people and vehicles alike stuck on the spot.
The chemical is not that mysterious. It's glue.
Glue.
Super glue.
I was just glued to this storyline until you interrupted me.
You're welcome.
I make joke. The Melter appears, bragging about how Zemo has upgraded his melting ray.
Your favorite.
So it affects all metals. Stupidest fucking bad guy I've ever heard of, I swear to God. It really
Look down the page a little bit, Dan.
Shut up. I'm busy. Instead of only iron, Radioactive Man joins him, and they continue to spray adhesive and stamp out any resistance from the police. Suddenly, the Avengers appear and battle the villains. Unaware of the trap, because he's a moron, Captain America and Giant Man are stuck to the ground by the adhesive X. As the Wasp and Thor hold off the villains, Iron Man cuts through the ground beneath the trapped heroes and drags the pavement away with a truck. Sorry.
Are you sure this one's better than the last issue, Ryan?
Ryan, do you want to explain what you thought was so great about this? No, you know what? Don't. Let me finish. No, shush. No more words from you, minion. You let us finish story first. Okay. Anyway, as he's driving his little tow truck, dragging the heroes away, with them still attached to the concrete, the Black Knigget appears and charges the truck. Thor leaps ahead and knocks the Black Knight off balance. As the Avengers escape, Zemo arrives and is updated by the other villains. He realizes that if anyone can find a solution to Adhesive X, it is the Avengers. So he decides to wait until they have found one because there's nothing else they can do right now. Back in the Avengers HQ, the heroes try in vain to remove the adhesive. Then we get to finally to the good part of the story.
Oh yeah, this is the best part of the story.
We finally get the best part of this friggin' story. The Wasp remembers the villain, Paste Pot Pete, right? Everybody's favorite bad guy, and he's an authority on pastes and adhesives. He
sure is.
Yeah, and he is a good guy, in disguise. Just so you know, he's kind of like our anti-hero of the story. He helps the Avengers in an effort to reduce his prison sentence. What a nice guy, right? Iron Man retrieves a super dissolver. And frees Cap and Giant Man. They realize that each of the villains has been gathered because they had an advantage against certain members of the team, and decide to switch enemies to confuse them and gain the upper hand.
I love
now
this
we're
story.
coming up to the worst part of the story.
As if this could get any worse.
It's so
Cap,
bad.
Oh
it's
no!
good.
Now we depend on the teen brigade to save the day.
God help us. Cap contacts the Team Brigade as they are also vital to the plan. Elsewhere, Zemo and his newly formed Masters of Evil prepare for their next attack on the city. The pilot is left alone to refill Adhesive X canisters, but is ambushed by the Team Brigade, who replace the adhesive with the Super Dissolver. God, this is like a Batman episode from the 60s. Unknowingly, the Masters of Evil take the dissolver and spray it over the city, freeing all the previously trapped citizens.
I just want to point out
that
their entire plan is contingent on the villains spraying glue on the parts of the city they have already sprayed glue on.
Yeah, that's a valid point. They weren't counting on our favorite hero, Pastepot Pete. Yeah. God.
Oh.
Anyway.
We lost Bill.
Where'd Bill go?
I don't know. I guess
What's going on?
I guess we'll keep going,
Bill.
though.
William. Oh, Willie boy. Bugger, he's ran away. He's skarkered.
Bill was freezing.
He's legged it. He's gone.
I don't know if Bill's Wi-Fi was acting up because Bill was freezing up a little bit earlier, so I kind of saw that coming.
Maybe he just couldn't take any more of this god-awful title. Anyway, I'm just going to plow on and keep on going. Anyway, Thor leaps into action and targets the Black Knight. After a brief duel in the air, Thor captures him. Well, good. He is supposed to be a god. Down on the street, Giant Man approaches Radioactive Man. With Iron Man's help, he outwits the villain and encases him in lead to nullify his radioactive powers. Yeah, okay, that technically would work. Iron Man is suddenly attacked by the Melter, but manages to escape. Tricked into melting a fire hydrant, he is captured when the water short-circuits his melting device. Clever. Oh, God. Back at the Masters. Oh, do we have a bill? I
don't know what happened there. My computer just randomly turned off.
Oh, nice.
Is your battery dying, or is it just...
It's plugged in, or at least it should be.
Yeah, I've made that mistake before, too.
No, I'm literally looking at the cord running into the wall.
Okay.
Although it is claiming it's on battery power, but it's also claiming the battery's fully charged, so I'm not sure what's going on
that's
with
good. Okay, well, you missed some really, really intense and exciting stuff here, Bill.
Bill's read the comic, you can't lie to them.
Yeah. So, God, we're never going to get through this. We've been going for an hour, and we're still working on this title. Back at the Masters of Evil's base, which is like in the base of a volcano or something, I'm assuming. Right. Anyway, back at the Master of Evil's base, how did they get a clubhouse? I thought they just got together. Right? How did they suddenly have a base?
It's probably in the Amazon
You're
jungle.
asking too much about a comic from the early 60s.
Baron Zemo likes the Amazon jungle, so...
Okay, well, back at the Master of Evil's Batcave, Zemo discovers the Team Brigade and hypnotizes them with his Hypno-Ray. Before he can instruct them, Zemo is attacked by Captain America. They are equally matched until the pilot recovers and shoots Captain from behind, grazing his temple. Wow, nice shot there, Princess. Before they escape, the pilot decides to finish Cap off. He is thwarted, however, when Wasp secretly pushes a nail into the barrel of his pistol. So this little itty-bitty Wasp picks up a big nail and puts it in the barrel. Oh, never mind. Causing the bullet to miss its target. Giant Man pursues the fleeing pilot and captures him, while Zemo escapes. The Avengers are annoyed that they didn't capture Zemo, but Cap confidently informs the team that the canister that Zemo stole wasn't the dissolver, but is in fact tear gas, swapped earlier by the Team Brigade. They see Zemo's heli-ship crash in the distance and leave the police to pick him up. So there you go. That incredible story arc, that riveting piece of literature is now over. So, yeah, I just feel like I've been through the ringer. Like, it's like, oh, I haven't been in this mood since I read Lord of the Rings. Or was it Archie?
Either one's possible.
Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah, Bill, you want to give us a...
This was another 3-star. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't as good as the last one. They kind of regressed on the whole integrated universe thing, because in this case, instead of tying the story to other stuff that was going on, and so instead they just decide, hey, let's take a bunch of villains from our single title and see what happens if we shove them together.
Yeah, even Paste Pop Pete couldn't save this one. I'm sorry.
He wasn't fully in it, that's why.
No, well, yeah, okay, that's the first problem. Take the best villain they got and just sideline him, why don't you? Idiots. There are some interesting notes here, though, because Stan is up to his old tricks. On page 19, he mistakenly identifies Rick Jones as Rick Brown.
I was going to point that out.
So I'm beginning to think there's something funny going on here. Right? Characters with different names looking exactly like the other characters. Could it be there's some kind of secret invasion happening?
Possibly.
I'm just saying. Right? Something funky going on. Bob Banner, Rick Brown. I don't know. Something weird in the neighborhood.
There's another note there that talks about how Iron Man has the
wrong helmet on.
Yeah, he's drawn with the wrong helmet because he's wearing a helmet that he starts wearing in the next issue we have to cover. But evidence suggests that that story happens after the events of this one. So.
And Baron Zemo, and this is another note that I actually think is vitally important.
Oh, yeah, that one's good, too. Yeah,
Zemo, although first appearing in this issue, is responsible for the plane that killed Bucky in the flashback depicted in Avengers 4, where he is depicted in one panel as a featureless background figure, and his hand is only shown in another. So Zemo killed Bucky.
It's also
which means we owe Zemo a thanks.
It's an important story note, too.
Get that annoying little freaking turd out of the way. Thank you, Zemo.
2006 reveals that he was kind of bad at it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I gave this one 3 stars, too, so... I enjoyed this one more than the last one. It's really campy and stupid, but I kind of love that the first Masters of Evil is so bad. such a bad scene. I love
really
that
horrible.
Black Knight's got to be in there. I popped when I saw him.
Oh no, it's
Black Knight's the most competent non-Zemo member.
I know.
Let's be honest.
I know, it was awesome.
Oh no, the whole story is horrible. Let's be honest.
Baron Zemo was nice to see.
Yeah, so Zemo's great, but like
I hate the
realistically,
glued-on hood thing.
It's a bit much at times, but yeah.
Right, let's talk about the fact that it's the skin cells shed. Right, the mask.
Oh, but this glue permeates because when Captain America and Giant Man got glued to the ground, they couldn't even take their shoes off to escape because it went through their shoes and glued their feet into their shoes as well.
I was going to point that out at one point, too. Yeah, they were standing up at first, but then I think Jack picked up on it, and later on he draws them on their knees, so it makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was not a particularly great story.
Even on the knees, they could easily escape, realistically. I mean, it would be a comic code violation, but they could do it.
Yeah.
Bill.
I don't think Cap's so wholesome, I don't think he'd want to do that.
Yeah, he'd rather stay glued to the
his
ground
team.
and take his pants off in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Hank being a reprobate that he is, he would do it, for sure.
But would Bob Banner do it?
Hard to say. He's a wild card.
He is. And Rick Brown, what about him? Would
He would do it. Perfect.
You think Rick Brown's brave enough for that?
He'd think about doing it, and then he'd turn beet red, get the stammers, and freeze up.
Yeah.
I love those Archie stories.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, let's move on to our last story of the day.
Please. Yes.
Surge of Fury in the Howling Commandos issue number 8, The Death Ray of Dr. Zemo. Yes, another Baron Zemo story, but this is before pre-mask Zemo. This is a pre-COVID-19 Zemo.
Okay.
Stan Lee's story. Dick Ayers is on art here, wildly enough. George Russo's on ink. Saul Brodsky and Jack Kirby do the cover. Sam Rosen letters this. May 1964 release, 22-page story. And I am taking this one as well. Just gotta actually have it ready to go would be smart, but yeah, here we are.
Dick is trying very hard to be Jack in this story, too.
Yeah, he is. I honestly, I don't know if I fully realized it wasn't Jack when I read this. I can't remember.
I thought it was just like Jack having an off-art day.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought, too. Anyways, the Howling Commandos return to base with an entire SS company as prisoners. They meet their new member. Oh yeah, that's the big part about this issue. We meet the new Howling Commando taken over permanently from Junior Juniper, who was of course killed in issue 4. But we meet Percival Pinkerton. Sawyer's Happy Sam Sawyer then sends them. Wow, that just skips over a ton of little things that don't really matter. But
none of those things matter at all to the plot. They're just funny little scenes of Percy adapting to the Howlers.
Yeah. He just get meet the team and adjusting their thing. Sawyer sends the team to Germany to capture Dr. Zemo, a Nazi scientist. Yes, this is the Zemo that we just saw in Avengers.
And they call your attention to it if you didn't know. That's why this one's after, because they spoiled that Zemo's in the Avengers if you read it first.
Yeah. On a PT boat in the North Sea, Ralston spots a periscope. The U-boat prepares to fire a torpedo. Fury orders the captain to drive straight at the sub, which tries to dive. The boat breaks the periscope, leaving the sub blind and unable to submerge. Dino Manelli goes to a nearby shore battery, steals a helmet from a sentry, and orders the gun crew to fire at the English submarine offshore. So he tricks the Nazis into shooting
Dino can speak German. That's why it works.
Exactly. He's the only guy on the team that speaks German. That's why he's always in these situations. He then drops a grenade into the bunker and destroys the gun, allowing the PT boat to escape. So the Howling Commandos make it to shore because of Dino's play here. Trotting down a road, the squad encounters a patrol tank. Jones falls on top and drops a grenade inside, which disables the tank but leaves him with shrapnel in his leg. Yikes. Duggan carries Jones to the next village, where the commandos try to convince the German doctor to treat Jones. So they're trying to convince this German doctor to treat this black man. You imagine that will go well back here in World War II. Only when Fury lights a stick of dynamite does the doctor agree to help. He does put up a bit of a fight.
Coincidentally, I don't know if you have the original coloring, Ryan, but coincidentally, right when the doctor agrees to help treat Gabe, he's immediately miscolored as white.
No. In mine, he was made gray like the rest of the comic.
Okay, because the panel at the bottom of the page with the dynamite, where the doctor's agreeing and he's sitting up in the chair, he's colored white.
That's the one time you want him to be colored right, even if it's gray. That's great. That's so terrible.
Coincidentally, on the next page, there's another coloring error where they color him correctly. By which I don't mean gray. I mean he's actually got the skin tone of a black person. Incredible.
Izzy Cohen on Lookout spots. I'm saying the first names because they call them by the last name, and I kind of have to remind myself which character that actually is. On Lookout, though, he spots the German soldiers entering the village. Commandos dress in white coats and take an ambulance parked outside. At a checkpoint, Fury has the doctor tell an officer that he saw the commandos on Blitzen Lane, and the officer's orders men to shell the location, unaware that it is the ammo dump and their shell attack blows half the village up. The Howlers drop the doctor at the next...
just before you move on, Ryan?
Sure.
There's a good bit in that scene that your synopsis overlooked, where the doctor's desperately trying to hint to the sentry that he's being kidnapped, and the sentry completely misses it.
That's great. This is a pretty good issue, really. The Howlers drop the doctor at the next crossroads and proceed to Zemo's castle. There's a single guard at the entrance. Pinkerton has an idea, though, and he leaves his guns behind. Saunters up swinging his umbrella and tells the guard that the war is over. The guard believes him, at least not enough for Pinkerton to throw him into the moat. The others proceed to... Pinkerton has a pretty good first appearance here, I will say. The others proceed to the drawbridge. Duggan alone fires at the castle. The other guards emerge and look for Duggan in the woods. Duggan rejoins the squad, who raises the drawbridge. Zemo sees and hears the commandos on his security system. They defeat his personal guards. Ralston is Reb, right?
Yes.
Reb is almost electrocuted by a doorknob. Zemo, over the intercom, demands their surrender. Jones blows his horn into the nearest microphone, deafening Zemo and short-circuiting the intercom. Zemo sets a wall moving to crush them. Star Wars, let's go. Cohen finds the circuit box and stops the wall. Zemo comes for them with his death ray and blasts the stairs beneath them. Reb lassos the ray gun and pulls it out of Zemo's hands. Zemo flees to the roof, gets in an airplane, lowers the drawbridge by remote control, and escapes. Fury orders Reb to drop the ray gun and orders everyone to get out of the castle, which explodes. Fury has great intuitions, as we've learned, especially from the last issue. Well, not last issue in this issue. Fury had guessed that Zemo booby-trapped the gun in case he lost it. And, yeah, that's the story.
There's a good bit at the end that was omitted, too. Because they get back, and it's pretty much Percy's final test if he'll fit in with the Howlers, because people ask him how it was, how it was on the mission, start talking him up for, to plan to get into the castle and stuff, and Percy refuses to take any credit and says it was a team effort, and so that's when they decide that he'll be all right.
Yeah. Overall, I think it was a good first appearance for Percy. I was unsure of introducing the new Howler would work, especially since I didn't do it right away, but it worked pretty well.
Nah. Could have been worse.
Yeah. I guess notes for this issue. This issue introduced a letters page for this title too, called "Tell It to Fury," which is kind of funny that these titles are introduced in letters pages after the editorial literally complained about the letter pages in Amazing Spider-Man. With this issue, it was announced that Sergeant Fury would now begin appearing monthly, which is sweet. And
if they can keep the quality up going monthly.
That's true. It wouldn't go back to... What? Did I read that wrong? With this issue, it began appearing monthly. Oh, it wouldn't go back to bi-monthly until November 1973. Isn't this from 74? No, this is 64. I'm getting a decade ahead of myself. So it stays monthly for years. So that's cool.
Yeah, it ends very shortly after it goes bi-monthly again.
Yeah.
And of course, as we know, this time Dr. Zemo does not wear his usual mask, because this pretty much continuity-wise is before the mask situation happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, before the whole crazy glue thing.
I gave this one... I personally really enjoyed this issue. The average on our site is 3.23. I bumped it up a bit and gave it 4 stars.
I was in line with the average. I gave it 3. It had some good moments, but it had some really, really bad moments, too.
It did.
Like, the whole Percy's umbrella gimmick. I don't like that. I like Percy. I don't like the gimmick with him having an umbrella and him flinging people around by hooking them with the umbrella and throwing them.
Yeah.
And then the Death Ray I didn't like, because Fury's, like, it's over-the-top action-y with the stuff they survive, but the situations they're in have been grounded in reality, so to all of a sudden throw a literal Death Ray into it,
that's a little much.
Was a departure from the feel of the comic.
I've never been a fan of the Howling Commandos to begin with, and this did not help it, in my opinion. This whole Death Ray routine, blah, blah, blah. They went from being an army unit to being superheroes. You know, it's no longer about soldiers. It's about this plucky group of almost superheroes taking on weird villains. You know, it's just like...
Yeah, I'm hoping to get back to the war comic aspect with the next issue.
Almost
well, I can only hope,
where's
but
Nikki?
Really... I'll openly admit I'm not a big fan of the Howling Commandos. This whole Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos title was never something I was drawn to. So, it's difficult to give it a fair rating because I just don't like it.
Fair
I
enough.
wasn't expecting to like it because I generally don't like war comics, but so far it's been better than I thought it was going to be.
Well,
Same here.
it's not a war comic.
Yeah, I thought reading the Howlers was going to be a massive chore.
Yeah, no, it's not a war comic. It's part of the thing. My point.
Yeah.
It's just not. Right? It's not like Sergeant Rock or, Navy at War from Carlton, like stuff like that.
You wouldn't
God, I've read that.
Yeah, or Fighting Army, right?
Oh, wait, I'm thinking of Navy Action, which is not better.
No. But, a lot of other companies had war titles. This wasn't
Marvel
in my
had
mind.
A ton of them in the 50s. I should know. I've suffered through most of them.
Yeah, but this wasn't a war comic, in my opinion. Like, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos was not.
No. And generally, I think that's for the better.
Breed of...
It's probably why Bill and I are enjoying it as much as we are, really.
I would say, that's has a lot to do with it.
The generic war comics get really boring really fast because there's about 6 stories that they just tell over and over again with slight reskins.
In my opinion, Sergeant Fury is the second or third most I lost the word. Most
tedious?
No.
Boring? Stupid?
No, it's a good word.
Pointless?
Most consistent / best comic that we're
I've got
reading.
it at second right now.
I have it at second too. I was just covering my bases because I forgot.
Yeah. It's going to rapidly fall to third because I know how good Fantastic Four is going to get in the near future.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, at this point, it's one of the most consistent and one of the better comics. It's got enough of an ongoing storyline to feel grounded, and it's also like, it doesn't have a supporting cast, but it's got a big enough regular cast that you get good interactions.
I don't think either of us have given an issue below 3 so far.
I gave the first one a 2.
Okay, well, fair enough then, but still. Like, it's been good ratings all around so far, so.
And then I think every other one I've given a 3. Because none of them have really blown me away.
They're just
but they've been
solid.
Consistently fun.
Yeah. The team dynamic is a lot of fun in these, in my opinion, but yeah.
And I just want to call out one more really stupid thing they did in this comic.
Oh, this could be
Gabe
interesting.
blowing his horn into the microphone and shorting out the system because Stan doesn't know how electronics work either.
Yeah.
Or horns.
Yeah. Not entirely sure he knows how comics work some days.
That's a good point.
Just saying. Yeah. He clearly doesn't know how names work.
I mean, Bob Banner is a name. I was combining the two wrong names there.
And Rick Brown, yeah. Bob Banner and Rick Brown. Yeah, so. Yeah. And any closing remarks on this?
Not really. It was just a fun comic. Well, some of us try to have fun on this podcast.
Why? I have fun at your expense, is what it is.
That's true. You're here to be the curmudgeonly old man. It's okay.
No, I'm here to dose you guys with big buckets of freaking cold, wet reality. Every once in a while, you freaking fanboys.
One day, I hope we do a DC podcast, and either Bill and I can play the role.
And then you can piss all over Ragman. I know.
I was going to say we need to
for
include Ragman if we ever do DC.
You were waiting for your moment, and we know it. Right? We're going to start talking about Brave and the Bold, and you guys are going to get all weird. And have to show up at your place in the middle of the night and kill you, and then it'll be on the run. This is going to be horrible.
It's. I mean, we could do a Gen 13 podcast, but
do not go there. No.
I was going to suggest we do a Wildcats one earlier when we were joking about these.
Oh, that would actually be kind of fun. Image did some good titles. Do not mess with Gen 13. I mean it. I will have Moira hunt you down and kill you.
So, what about that Fairchild?
I'm saving this until you annoy me.
Oh, are you? Okay, no problem. I understand. Anyway. How this is playing out. I get it.
I'm glad I mentioned that, though. We'll start closing off. We'll tease what's in the next episode. I don't know if we're recording next week because it's the 23rd when we'd be doing it, so we might take a week off. We haven't discussed this.
Christmas? Well, I'll be working on the 23rd anyway. I think my Christmas schedule's pretty intense.
Mine is
too. So you're
too.
probably not going to be in the mood to actually record, even if we do.
I just know I'm working earlier in the day that day, but we'll probably... I think it's probably safer to just say we're going to take a week off for Christmas.
Yeah, on the 23rd I'm working 4 to 10.
It's going to be the first week we miss. We've just hit 30 weeks in a row, so...
We might actually want to take 2 weeks off because I don't think the week after is going to be any better, falling right between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah,
well, then
I don't love the idea of 2 weeks without a podcast, but I see it being a scheduling
maybe we
nightmare.
could slip in an Aliens cast in there somewhere if we all have free time at the same time.
I mean, Bill and I could do next weekend. We could take the New Year's one off if Bill wants to do that.
I'm good to go either week. I was just thinking, like, scheduling in between Christmas and New Year's is always a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Maybe we'll go. Maybe Bill and I will do next week then, because my schedule that day, I think I work early in the day, so I'd be pretty good afternoon moving forward. So we'll just do it without Dan for next week.
Yeah, because my work schedule's just a crapshoot.
So you're going to be run off your feet that week too.
Yeah.
We'll take a week off between Christmas and New Year's, which is good. So
it's not missing a week if we schedule it.
Well, it's us not
being committed
recording.
to our art. Yeah, that's it.
But anyways, if we're doing that, then we'll be Bill and I will be back next week, and in the next episode, we will be doing some. Oh, damn it! I
just saw what we're doing.
I wanted Dan here for this one. Anyway, you'd
like it.
Yeah.
Should we just take the 2 weeks off from this and come back when Dan's available?
Maybe Dan will be missed if we skip this one.
Maybe we'll just try to squeeze the aliens in like we were talking about in the next 2 weeks.
The scheduling's tentative for now. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. You guys will know when we know. But
sure.
we should have talked about this before we started the episode. But anyways, the next episode, whenever it happens, we might take the full 2 weeks off because it'd be great to have Dan here. We'll see, though. We might not want to take 2 full weeks. Tales of Suspense issue number 54 as we see the return of the Mandarin. But we're not
everybody's favorite Liverpool fan.
We're not so unlucky there because he's here for 2 stories because this is an Iron Man 2-parter. As the Mandarin is also in issue number 55, and we get both next to each other, the A stories of 54 and 55, and then we get the C stories of those issues next to each other, 54 and 55 C stories, which are little Watcher stories. And then we will end the episode. We're only going to have 6 entries for the next episode, and it's probably going to be a quick one since 2 of them are 5 pages long. We're going to do Strange Tales issue number 121, which is a Human Torch story, and this one is the Return of the Plant Man, of course. Nice. And then the P story is a Doctor Strange story, which sees... Oh, this one's good. Which is called Witchcraft and the Wax Machine. I'm not actually going to say much about it because I really enjoyed this one. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now that we've talked about a lot of stuff that we could have just not talked about during the recording.
I had it planned for us to talk about before, and then I was eating my food and didn't think of it. So.
Okay. No
but
problem.
Anyways, we will we'll figure out what our schedule is, and what you guys will find out. If we don't do an episode of this for 2 weeks, we'll try to find a day along between this Christmas week and New Year's week. Between those 2 holidays, we'll try to find a time to record the Aliens franchise episode, which means it'll be coming out earlier than planned. So if we do that, maybe we'll try to fit another bonus episode in January. Maybe not. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, on this note, let us end this podcast because it's about fucking time.
Now that you've dragged it out an extra 10 minutes.
If you watch this on YouTube, please like, subscribe. It's been a long week. Please like, subscribe, comment, even share if you would like to.
Feel free to criticize wherever you want.
Especially me, right?
Especially the curmudgeonly Gen 13 fan.
We're also available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And of course, Spotify. Click which of the entries we covered is your favorite that we covered. Of course, tell us why it was Avengers number 5, and why you love the Lava Man. Anyway, guys, though, we will see you all in the next episode. Of course, there's plenty of you watching, so that makes sense. And see you all.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.